Mrityo Shiyamamritat
Hi, this is Amelía Eon Karis.
Hey everyone, it's Satya, and you're listening to Love, Sex, and the Hidden Agenda. Hey everyone, welcome back to our show, Love, Sex, and the Hidden Agenda. This is Satya, and I wanted to just, I was just thinking about our last episode, and Amelía and I were talking about how she had this kundalini awakening, so to speak, and Amelía, you were saying that you went through this huge awakening where you began to see sexual energy everywhere and in everyone, and you were in your apartment complex and you knew and you could see people, you know, who was having sex in which apartment, and you were just blown open, and I was remembering this story, and I was thinking, is this the guy? So this began with this guy that you were with who touched you, right? And it just sent you into this 24-hour orgasm. Mm-hmm. Was that the guy? Was that how this started?
Oh yeah, I left that part out last time. And you had to let's go back to the orgasm.
Yeah. After the show, I was thinking, wait.
It was the same guy. It was not the same event. So the first time that it wasn't the first time we had sex, but it was really early in our relationship. He was doing these sort of tantric exercises with me. I mean, I didn't really know what was happening. I didn't understand what kundalini or tantra was at the time. I was just really enjoying how slow and conscious he was. And whenever he touched me, I would say his hands were like butter. I just felt like they would melt and go through my skin and inside of me. Like if he had his hand on my stomach, I felt like it was inside. It was so weird. But it was like this feeling of touching me deeply with just breath and presence, really. I mean, it wasn't a wild sexual experience at all. In fact, I don't even know if we had sex. I just remember this very loving, very kind of otherworldly, sort of tranced out intimacy. And then, I was. Did it feel erotic? Or did it feel more like blissful, or? There was definitely some eroticism in it. But so one of the things was our sexuality, like our energy didn't totally match sexually. Like I'm from San Francisco. I had this wild, liberated sex life. He's born and raised in India and then had been living in the US for 11 years. But, he didn't have so many partners as I had, but we had a very different approach to our sexuality. And he was sort of telling me that I just needed to receive. And it was great because I was at a place in my life. My father had just died. My teacher had just died, and I just kind of needed to be held. So I wasn't interested in being sexual with him, but there was some sexual undertones there. And it was just something, and it was an experience I'd never had before, because it wasn't the typical guy I would normally date. It wasn't a typical experience whatsoever. It was very meditative and slow, and I don't even remember if my clothes were on or off, honestly, because what happened was it was hours long of just deep breathing and holding each other and just kind of going on this journey. Wow. And then I remember when I was feeling what normally is like an orgasmic state coming, it would come in waves, and he wouldn't let me have an orgasm like I was used to having. It wasn't just like the rise of the orgasm and then it's over, which is sort of what my body was kind of wired for, right? It was looking for that release. And he would be like, no, 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 just breathe deeper. And so he was guiding me to like not be, to not chase the orgasm, but to allow the orgasm to kind of come to me. It was just a really different way of breathing and being with, surrendering into this energy. So because it wasn't very sexual, like I don't even think we were in the act of sex at all. I think he was just like massaging me. These waves were moving and moving. And then I kind of found myself writing this orgasm that just kept going and going and going and going.
Oh my goodness.
And then I was like, I can't take it anymore. Like, okay, like what, just like, let me peak and be over it. And he's like, no, just let it run. And so by then my whole body is like flopping around, and he's not even touching me at this point. He's just like giving me space and letting my body sort of, I guess I was like absorbing or riding this energy wave. And I was like, what's happening to me? Like, this is beyond any orgasm I've had, like,
oh my goodness,
what's going on? Yeah. And then I have
like chills all over my body.
Oh, really? You're like, I want that now. I'm like, oh, this is so funny though, because I couldn't sleep. Like I was writing that whole thing all night long. And in the morning I had to be at this contract job. I had a client downtown, and I was riding my bike because I didn't want to drive. So I jump on my bike in the morning and I'm riding in, I'm leaving him, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm still having this orgasm. Like, this is crazy. I'm like on a bike. There's something between my legs. Like, it was crazy. And I felt like every car that passed me was like looking at me. Like, those days when you think everyone's looking at you? Like,
yes. If you feel really good or you're falling in love and you just feel like everyone's like,
I was like, oh my God, everyone sees me. Like, I'm not invisible, and everybody's wants whatever I have right now. And then I went to work, and I worked in this, I was helping to a build out of this big warehouse and a new startup tech company thing. So I was actually managing construction workers, right? Great place to go. So I come into the office, and it was like mosquitoes to the light, man. Everyone was flirting with me. They never flirted with me before. They were all professional before. And this day was different. Like, everybody wanted to talk to me, and they wouldn't go away from me. And at one point I locked myself in the bathroom, and I was just breathing, and I called my partner up, and I was like, what did you do to me? Like, I'm still having that orgasm and it won't stop. And he laughed, and he was like, just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. I'm like, you did something to me. Yeah. Like, just enjoy it. It's just pure kundalini. And I was like, I need this to come down. Like, I think this is dangerous. Like, somebody's going to like attack me. And then, it lasted probably 24 hours, but on the way home, I called one of my girlfriends, and I was just like, you're not going to believe this. And she could hear in my voice that I was still in an orgasmic state. And she was so excited on the phone. And I was just like, you have to let him do it to you. Like, I had I wanted to like kind of hire him out.
Yeah.
I was like, you have to experience this. There's nothing like it. And then, we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. We were just dating. So I didn't have any attachment to him. I didn't think I'm in love with him or anything like that. So I had told like 3 of my girlfriends, oh my God, you have to meet this guy and let him do this thing to you. I don't know what he did, but
whoa. Still, and did they?
No, I ended up being more jealous than I thought I was.
I love it.
It was so funny. I totally thought that like, yeah, you need this. But then the more I got of it, I was like, okay, you shouldn't do this to anyone else. I want this for myself. But
oh my gosh. Do you think that there's people, I mean, I suppose we've all had not bad experience, obviously, but we do know, most of us, I think, if we open our minds, like, where there's been times where we've been falling in love with somebody, or we feel particularly attractive, and then you can feel it when you're walking around, that other people kind of see that about how good you're feeling.
Oh, yeah, people just know, right? They come to work.
Yeah,
oh, you got laid last night. That's all.
Right. But to be at that level, so I mean, this goes to show that their energy is a thing. It's real. People do pick up on things without there being any, other information. And so the fact that you had this kind of experience to the degree you had it is more than possible and actually happens. And what I'm thinking is, are there people maybe who've had this and who don't know how to manage it and are actually living in that state all the time, and maybe doing dangerous things all the time, or maybe negative things with it, and they have no idea that their kundalini was blown open at some point. I mean, whether it was they were abused as a kid or something happened to them as an adult, whatever. I don't know. This is just, you don't really have to answer that, but I'm just kind of posing, just philosophizing, like, what?
No, it's interesting. And I do want to share something that happened right after that. One of my girlfriends was having a breakup with her boyfriend, and she wanted to talk to me, but here I was, like, locked up with my new boyfriend now. It was like maybe a few weeks after that experience, and we hadn't left the house, it was like, I need to.
Well, you couldn't function. I mean, I wouldn't be able to ride a bicycle. That's for sure.
So anyway, my girlfriend was like all sad and miserable, and she's like, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, you can come over, but someone's here, like this guy. And I'm like, but just come over anyway. Cause I couldn't really send him away to talk to her. But I thought, you know what, maybe, he's such a healer. Maybe the two of us can. And I was in such a bliss state. I didn't really want him to go far away. It was kind of like an energizer or something. So anyway, she came in and she sat with us on our bed, where we had multiple sessions like that, where I was running and he was running. Oh, I couldn't even handle his orgasm, by the way. We'll come back to that.
Okay, I shall make a note.
Yeah. So anyway, we had these like crazy experiences, sexually, kundalini, whatever. And then she came into the room. Now it's the middle of the afternoon, and there was someone else living in the apartment, so our privacy was there. And I said, she was crying and stuff. And so I asked, my partner to come sit with us, and we got on the bed, and I said, let's meditate. I just want to meditate, because by then we were meditating so much. It wasn't, here's the thing. It wasn't sexual. There was no like penetration. I couldn't even handle that. It was just the energy of our bodies and our breath. And so a lot of it was just most of it was like meditative. So anyway, I asked my friend to sit with us and meditate, and let's just breathe through it. And I was kind of guiding her, and I said, listen, how are you feeling? Blah, blah, blah. Just take some breaths. And then we sat in silence for a while, and all of a sudden she starts going into that whole wave. Her body's undulating. She's shaking. She looks like she's having an orgasm while sitting up. And
no way.
Yeah. She's like completely, her head drops back, and her spine is undulating like a kind of snake, like fish-like movement, where she's rocking back and forth, and her eyes are rolled back in her head. And I was like, okay, like that's what I do when he does this thing to me, but nobody's touching her, and she's just breathing with us, but she's doing what we've been doing all day, but we're not doing it now because we're all grounded out because she's there.
Right.
And then we stop, it ends. And I said, hey, has that ever happened to you before? Do you normally do that when you meditate? And she's like, no, what the hell was that? And I said, you just had a kundalini awakening. And she was like, what? That was amazing. I feel great now. I'm going to go home and break up with my boyfriend. She had all the answers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She's like, I'm going to break up with this guy and I'm going to move in with this other guy. I'm like, no, maybe you shouldn't move it. You shouldn't make any big choices right now. She's like, no, that's it. I'm done. I got it. And so I started studying, like, what the heck is going on? Because whatever this kundalini is really, really, really powerful.
Right.
And it took me on many, many years of studying and meditating and exploring. And I then watched it happen to quite a number of people. And the thing is that when that energy opens up and you haven't prepped your body and you don't have a strong grounding cord and you don't know how to ground it out, it can be extremely, extremely dangerous. So with that girlfriend, she didn't have the same ride that me and my partner had. Like her, she had been practicing Qigong for a long time. So I knew she had like a lot of her gateways were open, but her experience after that kind of slid into, she did break up with the guy, she got with the other guy, but she was like, her sexual energy was out of control a little bit. Like she was,
yeah,
but it just wasn't grounded. It wasn't stable. And then she ended up becoming a little bit manic and ended up getting medicated to like control the manic energy. And this went on for a few years. She was dysfunctional for about a year. And now, many years later, I mean, this was, I don't know, like 2003. So she's amazing. Like, oh my God, what a shaman. What a strong, powerful medicine woman.
Whoa.
That woman is. But she has been through hell taming that energy. And now she, like, anyone who knows her as just like incredible. Like she has been through it and came out the other side. And
wow.
Now she has a very strong marriage. She just, had her first baby. But she's super successful financially, but she was incapacitated for almost 2 or 3 years after that awakening. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. People can, what happens when they're not grounded enough or they don't have enough spiritual practice or something to cope with that. I bet there's people walking around all over the place like that.
Yeah. And I think it goes undiagnosed or ununderstood. And then people end up, getting medicated.
Yeah. Or just acting out in really maybe ways that aren't healthy at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like she got very sexually explorative, and I think that happens to people. Like when the energy moves through the second chakra, you just want to have sex. I mean, you're just sort of like hungry, like what is going on? I'm on fire. Like, just like a cat in heat is what it is, really, literally. Feels like you're a cat.
That makes sense.
And the energy is moving. So if you don't know how to transmute that, if you don't know how to run it and like cycle it and turn it back into the earth or move it into your creativity or into a channel of like a pure intentional channel, then it will get blocked up and distort and maybe confuse the people around you. You might end up going down a really weird road that you wouldn't do if you had not activated that energy. So that's why it's important to have a guide and to understand it and like do the practices. The practices are essential.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I'm feeling like, yeah. So wait, what were you going to say about his orgasm?
Yeah, I knew you were going to come back. It was exciting. I mean, it was scary, terrifying.
Oh my gosh, really?
I'll tell you why. For me, it was because I had never been with a man who had like an explosive orgasm. First of all, he didn't like having orgasms. So I couldn't run the same program I had been programmed, which was to please the man. That was my program sexually. Like I needed my man to feel so taken care of and so like completed. That was just my
eyes are like saucers right now. I'm thinking, what? Wow. Okay, keep going.
I mean, I just wanted to be a good lover, and like really take care of the guy. And he wouldn't allow it. He was like, no, I don't need to, I don't need to have an orgasm. And I was just like, oh, well, thank God. Like, but I don't know what to do because I'm just so used to needing to please the man to even think I'm going to get pleased. Like that was just.
That's how most women are programmed for sure. Yeah.
So his whole thing was like, no, it's all about you. It's all about you. It's all about you. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I almost couldn't believe it. But then I was like, well, I better take him up on this, So then I thought maybe he's impotent. Like maybe like he just can't, keep up with me. And so that's why he's focusing on me so much. But then I realized, oh, he's kind of just like me. He just wants, we're both two people pleasers, like
right.
coming together. So anyway, because of my past relationship, which I'm not going to talk about, but it was completely not about me. I was like, and I was really hurt by that. So I was like, okay, let me just receive. I mean, obviously this is a gift from God and I was asking for this and he's giving it. So, but anyway, he finally let me kind of take him over the edge. And he was trusting me, right. To have that orgasmic experience with me. And, but when he had his orgasm, like, because he had waited so long, I mean, weeks, he hadn't had an orgasm for weeks compared to like how many I had been having, like my 24-hour experiences, he was just like not going there. And then, well, he would never ejaculate. He would breathe with me, but he was never like, he never ejaculated. And then the one time that he did, it was terrifying. It was like having sex with a wild bull. I don't know, but it was,
wow.
It was like, I hope he's not listening to this. He's probably listening to this. It was so, he was shaking and screaming and
wow.
He was moving through his whole body was shaking. It was like, like flying, like I'd never seen a man let go. And at the end, after screaming his head off, which was kind of embarrassing, mind you, we lived in an apartment complex. I was like, okay, that's a bit loud. Like loud, and he's a 6'3" dude. He's not small and he's got a really incredible voice. So it was loud. And I was like, okay, they're going to think, I don't know what, but okay. Like, thank God it's San Francisco. And right, like what other city can you get away with that shit? But he's screaming, and then at the end, he's like fully crying, and I had never been with a man that blasted that open and was that vulnerable, and it was so terrifying for me. I was like, I don't think I can have sex with you again. I literally told him that. I said, if that is sex with you, I think once a year is good for me. Like, I can't handle it. It's too much energy and it's completely terrifying. And basically right after that, I told him I heard from my spirit guides, because I was just blown open to the heavens. I was conversing with a whole pantheon of energies on the other side, and they were telling me that I needed to like heal my womb, and that in order to do that, I needed to not have sex, and I needed to really take time out and just meditate and allow this energy to circulate, this energy that had gotten activated. I needed to let that heal me. And so I told him, and he totally understood and agreed. He's like, that's great. And I said, well, you're probably gonna want to break up with me because I'm not gonna have sex for a year, so I would never expect you. I'd never done that before, and I was just 30, and he was like, I don't know, he must have been like 36 or 37. And I was like, you're not, I don't expect you to like wait for me. So go do your thing. And he's like, no, of course I'm not going to go anywhere. Like you're still going to need massage and hugs and someone to cook for you. I was like, wait, I've never had what? So he's like, I don't have a problem with you not needing it. I'm fine. And he stayed with me.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
Yeah. And it ended, 1 year was 5 years of no sex. I never had sex with him again.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you must have really experienced so much energy in that period of time. It probably was 5 years worth.
It was. I thought it was going to be 1 year worth, but it was 5.
I mean, the idea is amazing, right? But
the reality is something else.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I'm curious, you know, in an awakening like that, so to speak. Well, yeah, that's the word. So what, you know, how we were talking in the last episode about the energies, let's just say the dark side energies that are lurking, that you were referring to as parasites, that you could see that these things. I wonder at what point would they respond or be called toward a human having an awakening of that kind, which is what I was earlier when you were talking about the need for being grounded or having some kind of practice to be able to contain this kind of energy, because I'm just thinking that this darkness would be so maybe attracted to that or wanting to manipulate that in some way. And henceforth, like, you know, people walking around who maybe quote are, you know, in a sexual addiction or maybe even involved in incest or something, and just so to the point where they don't, their kundalini has opened, but they're being influenced in some kind of way. Am I making sense?
Totally making sense. And I think, you know, the way I would explain that is when your kundalini lights up like that, yeah, you're piercing through time and space, and a whole host of other dimensional energies see you. Like you wake up to a different reality. And in doing that, there's a lot of entities or energies that that feed off the kundalini, like that parasite I was discussing. And it just wants to like eat it up and gobble it up or control it, because if they can control it, then they can keep the rule. The parasite can keep control over this this dimension that we're in. You know that movie Wrinkle in Time? I just saw it recently.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So the it in the movie is exactly what the parasite looked like to me. And when I saw that movie, it was just like a couple weeks ago, I was so excited because somebody had, you know, graphically showed like the way it enters the little boy who's completely innocent. That little boy is completely awake. He understands multidimensional reality. He's moving through wormholes, all of that. And then he gets so far in and he goes into a realm where there's duality, where darkness lives. And then he gets consumed by it. And then his ego, he wants the power, and his ego latches on. And then it's really hard to unlatch him. And it's only through the pure love of his sister and her dedication to rescue him from that. That's exactly what it's like. That movie, as cheesy as some of the like CG is and all of that, it is Oprah Winfrey being all huge. That was hysterical. But that movie shows exactly what I'm talking about. Like what we're really, it's more reality than what we are seeing in our everyday eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you think about that kind of awakening just affecting other people, and people are so in, you know, the third dimension, not even understanding what they're feeling from another person half the time. So I can imagine that other realms would just be magnets to it. And I'm just trying to imagine a world where people, like you were describing it as this blissful thing, this beautiful thing, but also erotic. And then was there a time, maybe thousands of years ago, where we knew how to have this experience and we were just really free? And maybe there wasn't this feeding thing or some kind of dark side coming in to turn it or twist it or tell us somehow it's wrong or bad, or attaching other lower types of feelings, for lack of a better word, to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to talk about that. I think that's a great topic for our next episode, because I think we're out of time.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. So thank you for listening. And I hope you'll join us in our next episode, where we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about?
We'll figure it out. We go on the fly. We live in the moment.
We're going to talk about what was it like before the parasite got here, or what would it be like if the parasite wasn't here, and how we might be able to return to that. So I'm excited to talk about that with you further. Satya, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next episode.
All right.
Bye for now.
See you next time. Bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us. If you'd like to contact us and stay in touch with us, you can find us at lovesexagenda.com. That's lovesexagenda.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, Love, Sex, and the Hidden Agenda.